G'day hikers, welcome to the Hike the Highlands Festival YouTube channel. My name is Tom Wilson and I'll be your host today along with Leslie Buchanan, who's going to assist us in this presentation. Today's presentation is on the history of the Hike the Highlands Festival, and this year it turns 18 years old, and we'd like to thank Ernie Kemball for suggesting us to do this presentation today. Thanks, Edwin. So we're breaking the presentation down into three areas or three sections: the facts about the festival, the emotions that the festival brings, and some of the unique experiences the festival provides. So we're going to begin with the facts. So the festival began back in 2004 with the Cape Breton Highlands project. It's a 3-year project that was put together in order to make the Cape Breton Highlands a 4-season destination area and to attract new visitors to the area. In the picture to the right is Debbie Martell, who was the project coordinator for Cape Breton Highlands project. There was 3 festival coordinators for Hike the Highlands in the early years. And when I say early years, it's 2004 to 2006. And at the podium is Patsy LeBlanc, and she was one of the festival coordinators, and she was coordinator on the 2nd and 3rd year. Greg Ferns was also part of the 2nd year, and Angela Loffer was the coordinator for the 1st year. And you can see in the picture to the right, Patsy's at the podium. Lisa Dixon, who's been one of our volunteers since day one. She's actually been volunteering for the last 18 years. And to the left of Patsy is a chap from the Trail Shop who was one of the sponsors in the early days. The festival featured a number of unique events during the first 3 years: a murder mystery weekend at the Celtic Lodge, of course, our guided hikes, some socials, the closing ceremony at the Celtic Lodge, and much more. In the photo, Caroline Cameron was giving Nelson Dixon a sticker for his hike and logbook, and Leslie is in the background. Leslie, you have anything to comment on that?
Well, in the beginning of the festival, we would get a sticker at the completion of each hike. And honestly, we were like children. We were picking out which sticker we wanted. I'm quite sure we drove the volunteers crazy with, oh, I want the happy face. Oh, I want the whatever. But it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's good. Our next slide, Wally Hayes is retired now from Tourism Nova Scotia, but he was a professional photographer who really put Hike the Highlands Festival on the map. He visited us every year during the many years during the festival and took lots of photos, and they became part of his slideshows, and then later his award-winning what they call Wally Vision shows, which are done around the province of Nova Scotia and throughout Canada and internationally. He has been a true friend and mentor and someone who inspires us to be better. And we'd like to thank Wally for all his contributions. And certainly he played a significant part of Hike the Highlands Festival in our history. So after 2006, a nonprofit organization called the Hike the Highlands Festival Society was created in 2007, and this became the management of the festival till today. Sorry, the festival, of course, will be celebrating its 18th year in 2021, and our festival is made up of volunteers. Picture to the right it's not the North River Falls, but it's a picture of the falls in the Ingonish Harbor area where wilderness hike used to take place. And to the left is Lisa Dixon, and I can't remember who the one is on the right because I don't see her face. But Lisa's been a part of our festival for the past 18 years and has contributed greatly over the years. She's been a wonderful guide and sweep, a good friend to the festival, helping out as many people as possible. And we'd like to certainly thank her for her
Oh,
contribution.
definitely.
In 2010, a book was published called the 50 Places to Hike Before You Die by Chris Santella. And Hike the Highlands Festival and the Cape Breton Highlands were featured as one of those top 50 places. And it took us, I believe, 2 years after that, that a lady came up who used to hike with us in the Hike the Highlands Festival and said, I'd like to give this book to you. I finished reading it and you guys are featured in that. And that was really the first time I even knew about it. So thanks, Chris, and thanks to the lady to provide a little bit of interesting facts for our festival on this. In 2013, Hike the Highlands Festival received the Hike Nova Scotia Summit Award for inspiring residents and visitors to hike and enjoy the Highlands, its vistas, and Cape Breton's natural beauty. And we were kind of surprised and shocked about that one, but we'll take that award. We like it. Okay, you want to mention anything on the next slide?
Yeah, on the next slide, I do have a comment.
Yes. Okay, so Hike the Highlands has welcomed hikers from North America and internationally annually. We have been a signature event with Tourism Nova Scotia and Destination Cape Breton for many, many years. And we have a high percentage of returning hikers annually, which speaks to the quality of the hikes and the volunteers that help out.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that because over the years, we've had unexpected situations arise during the festival. We've had hurricanes, we've had situations where communities wanted a little privacy from visitors for different reasons. We've had bridges washed out on hikes, and we've had COVID. And the organization itself, speaking as a participant, is incredibly adaptable. And nothing seems to go without, they don't seem to have like a hitch in what they're doing, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So volunteers have always been an important part of our festival, whether it's managing and on the board of directors and its various committees, as well as the guides and sweeps, as well as the registration people, opening and closing ceremonies. And without them, this festival would not run as efficient as the way it is now. We always tend to be a helping hand to the hikers, being friendly and making sure that they know the directions to get to the various trailheads, as well as advising them on the different types of hikes. And we have 3 different types. We have easy, intermediate, and hard. And you always have the choice of deciding which hike you want to do. And when you're at the festival and you find out that this hike is a little higher than you expect, you can always make that change by letting people at the festival headquarters know. Group photos have been a tradition since the start of the festival, thanks to Lisa Dixon. In 2009, we changed the group photo to become a family photo. And we'll talk a little more about that a little later. Okay. What's going on? I got to start again.
Okay. So I have a comment on this one about the diversity of the hikes.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so start again. Volunteers. They have been so important to the running of this festival, whether it's the management of the Hike the Highlands Festival Board, the committees, the guides and sweeps, the registration people, our opening and closing ceremonies, and much more. They've always been there to help the hikers, advising them of which hikes are which hikes to do if depending on their physical ability. We've been there to help them with the directions to get to the trailheads, and so it's one of the unique things of this festival is that the hikes are always diverse. You want to have a comment on that?
Yeah. One end of the spectrum for the hikes is that there are some that are so easy. One year I actually took my mom, she was 80 something at the time, in her wheelchair over one of the hikes. And the other end of the spectrum, we've had hiking up Tenerife that was so breezy that they jokingly nicknamed it Terror Reef. So you have quite a diverse, definitely a diverse selection of hikes to do.
Yes, that's for sure. To the right is a group photo of a hike on the Aspie Trail, and group photos have always been a tradition since the festival started in 2004, and this was all came about because of one person, Lisa Dixon. And so for 18 years, we've had these group photos. And then in 2019, it became known as the family photo. And we'll talk about a little bit about this later on the Hike the Highlands family. So besides doing the festival, Hike the Highlands Festival Society is involved in two other events. We are involved in the winter snowshoe hikes that happen late January, February, and possibly March. And in July, we host annually the Cape Breton Highlands Three Peaks Challenge. The Three Peaks Challenge involves hiking 3 mountains in one day and is patterned a little bit after the Three Peaks Challenge in the United Kingdom. In 2021, we hosted the 11th annual Three Peaks Challenge with 18 teams from PEI and Nova Scotia. It's been a popular event. It's sold out in 2 weeks, and generally we have close to 24 teams. The reason why we have 18 teams this year was because of COVID-19. We had our third wave hit us, and there were some teams that were a little nervous about becoming involved in this event. But fortunately, the numbers went down drastically, and we ran a very successful and safe event. As Leslie mentioned earlier, because of COVID-19, we had to be adaptable. And so what we did was we had 2 starts, so there would be less people involved. So there was a start in Shedicamp side, and there was a start in Ingonish side. So this made it for easier parking, so that the teams that started in Shedicamp generally finished on the Shedicamp side, and the teams on the Ingonish side finished there. And so everything went a little quicker, and everything went smoother, and there was less parking problems. So we definitely like to thank all the teams for their support this year and for adapting to these changes. Okay, so our next section is to talk about the emotions that hikers get when they're involved in this festival. And there's lots of them. And hopefully you'll enjoy this section. So this is one of the nice things about this festival, and that's why we talked about the family part. All the hikers that participate in this festival generally support and encourage and cheer everybody on. So it's not uncommon that somebody will loan their poles to help you get over a brook, or hold your hand and pull you over a distraction, or share snacks or exchange recipe, sorry. And generally, we're always there to help each other out. The opening day of the festival was very special. The welcome of returning hikers, the hugs, and the meeting and making of new hiker friends. It's just amazing, the opening. And of course the closing is sad because we have to say goodbye. So it's one of those things, but you get to know the hikers family, and that's one of the reasons that makes this festival so special.
Tom, I mean, I brought my a mom one year, as I mentioned,
Yep.
and I've even brought my two preteen daughters on 2 or 3 years, and they always felt so included. And I mean, they weren't the mainstream of the hiking community, but I mean, I've met people here at the festival from so many different backgrounds, so many different hiking experiences under their belt, yet everybody is like just brought right into the fold. And my mom talked about coming to the festival for years. Yeah.
Yeah. So new hikers will certainly tell you about their stories on how everything went their first year. So you'll always be assimilated, whether you planned on it or not. New hikers are really blown away by this, how all the new hikers are welcome into the group, and you become friends very quickly with all the other hikers. One of the things that a lot of hikers liked was, because our hikes are generally on the average an hour to 2 hours long, sometimes a little bit longer, you get to have a chance to talk to the hikers that you just met, and you get to know them quite a bit, and they give you a lot of pointers on some of the hikes that they went to. I met a lady from, I believe she was from Ontario. She was a retired school teacher. And she came up to me one of the hikes, and she said, "Tom, I've been hearing that you're going to Scotland this year." I said, "Yes, yeah, I'm going to do the West Highland Way and the Ben Nevis." Well, she said, "I did Ben Nevis, and I'd like to give you a couple little tips that I learned." I said, "Oh, great, I'd love to." And anybody that knows Ben Nevis is the highest mountain in the United Kingdom, in Great Britain, and it's 4,400 feet high, and it's generally a 5-hour hike going up and down. So she mentioned to me, she said, "You don't have any problem doing this, dear." She said, "It took me 3 hours to get up, but it took me 4 hours to get down." She said, "It's really tough on my knees going down." Oh, I said, "That's good to know." And so we had firsthand experiences of people that done that. And so when my wife and I and my nephew did it, I told him about this experience. So we knew about going down was going to be a little tough. And because we didn't have any knee problems, we were down a little bit quicker. But we were pretty well right on what she said. It was 3 hours going up. Now, mind you, we have, between my nephew and myself, we take a lot of photos. So there's lots of times we'll stop and take a break and take a photo. But going down, we did it in 2 hours. But it was important that we learn from other hikers, so that when we do these new experiences, we have firsthand knowledge just by the expertise of other hikers. So this was important. I'm going to let Leslie talk about the next one, this second one here.
Oh, the mud.
Yeah.
You're talking about all that mud and rain. Oh,
Yes.
Some days, some festivals, it rains a whole lot more than other years. And I mean, as Tom was mentioning to me before, sometimes you'll come in off a hike you want to do the afternoon hike, but you're covered. You run back to your trailer or your hotel or your home and just quickly change out of your wet clothes into some dry ones, and away you go again, because you don't want to miss a hike. They're just too much fun.
Just a quick story in that the first time it really poured at Highlands Festival, we had 35 people go out on the Branch Pond Trail, and we were in Mud City, big time, and people got soaked because it literally poured all the way out and all the way back. And so in the afternoon, we had another hike called the Broad Cove Mountain Hike, and I was really curious to see how many would show up and actually do that one after everybody got soaked in the morning. And lo and behold, 35 people showed up for the hike, and they all went up and all came down. And so it was just a unique experience to see that people loved hiking that much that they were willing to come back out and get soaked again. So, and I think that's a lot of the hikers' mentalities. If I got a raincoat, I have no problem doing a hike. So that was a good thing. We talked about how friendly people are. They're also caring people, and they will always help anybody when they need it. There's the odd times where some hikers will maybe trip over a stump or hit a rock, and they'll stop, and the hikers behind will rush up and say, "Are you okay?" And they'll always make sure, listen, if you need any help, just holler and I'll be right there to help you out. So that's a nice way of again, this is this part of this family atmosphere where fellow hikers will help out other hikers. So we have lost a few people over the years. Some have gotten older and their physical abilities don't allow them to hike on the Hike to Highlands Festival. And then there's others that have passed away. And certainly we all think about them at the end of during the festival and say, I wonder how they're doing this year. And if you look in the picture to your right, there is the third hiker is a lady by the name of Karen McNeil. And she's definitely one of the hikers that we have missed. And there's many others too. But we do think about them, the ones that can't come to the festival in the coming years, or the ones that have passed away. So we just want to let people know that is part of our festival.
Yes, we do reminisce a lot. I can attest to that. Some people will stay in touch with some of the hikers that no longer are able to come, and we will discuss that on hikes. Like, oh, have you heard from so and so? I can see the first 4 hikers in that picture. I haven't seen in a long time for different reasons, but we'll say, oh, has anyone heard? How are they doing? Because, like you say, Tom, we become just a big family, an ever-growing family.
Yep. So I just happened to notice this picture, and it reminded me of a story back probably, I don't know, 10 years ago. So one year we had, it was part of our closing show was a little background on the angels that our festival brings out sometimes. And picture to the right is an elderly lady who enjoys walking every day in Chetty Camp and decided, I'm going to do Fishing Cove this year. And she started down and realized, ooh, this may be a little harder than I imagined. So there was a chap right by her who said, I'll look after you. So he made sure that she went down safely and came all the way back up the trail right to the parking lot. And it was kind of like, it was something that you read about, but you don't normally see. But this was just amazing. And you can see in the picture, they're holding hands going up one of the last hills and fishing. So I just thought it was an interesting story to add that there are angels out there. People will help you. Moving on, a program that we started many years ago is the Hiker Distance program, where hikers can hike certain distance and they get rewarded with a lapel pin at the closing ceremonies at the end of the festival. And it's amazing how many people have their faces light up at the closing ceremonies when they go up, their names called up and they get their pin, and everybody's clapping for them. So it's a unique experience for many people. And I don't think anybody ever forgets it. You know, it's one of the highlights of the closing night, really.
And for returning participants, we will sometimes notice that this year they maybe are getting a pin of a higher kilometerage than a pin before.
Yep.
And I mean, they're just given such applause because, you know, they're getting, you know, they're pushing themselves harder, or they were, you know, just encouraged that they're doing so well.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Especially the ones that reach their first 100-kilometer pin.
Mhm.
And they're just amazed at the support and the cheering on by people in the audience are saying, yeah, you did it. You did it. And so it's just one of those things you have to be there to see it, but it's such a nice feeling. The closing show, basically the closing show is a picture. It's like a slideshow of all the different hikes and all the different moments and people's faces and some of their, and it brings everybody together. And the closing show tries to have a picture of everybody that's at the festival. Okay, and most years we do it. And so it's amazing to see their smile when they see that they're up on the big screen and that's me and everything else. So it's just nice to see that. Another part of the emotion on the last night is saying goodbye. It's really tough. Some hikers will stay the next day and hike on Sunday, but some of them will just head back because they have long distance to travel. But saying goodbye is tough to all the hikers. We thank the hikers that evening. We thank our partners, our sponsors, and of course our amazing volunteers. And it's one of those nights that you remember. So, okay, now we're moving on to the last section. That's called the experiences. And you know, you can emotions, experiences, they're all kind of together, but this kind of highlights just some of the experiences you might get. So I'm going to let Leslie just talk about this one.
Well, the evening presentations are always very informative. I mean, like Tom was mentioning earlier about hearing other hikers' experiences doing different hikes around the world. It's always very interesting to get someone else's point of view. Maybe you're trying to decide which hikes you want to do, or how you're going to approach it if you've already decided that's where you're going. It's wonderful. And the interaction between the presenter and the audience is just like you're sitting in your living room. I mean, because the hikers are all friends, it's a professional presentation, but it's not, you know, it's an easygoing back and forth interaction.
And certainly the next part, for COVID-19 and the restrictions, you know, we talked about this early in the presentation about how the festival had to adapt to all these changes that we're constantly facing in 2020 and 21. And we thought it was tough in 2020, but then 2021, we got that third wave, and now we're starting another wave, the fourth wave. But we're managing better because we know how to adapt to all the different things. And so we've put the evening presentations online on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, so that people can see them whenever they have free time. And it's a way of still trying to engage the hikers and taking part of the online experience, and still giving that same sort of experience earlier, where you feel like you might be at home and you're watching this live. So it's different, but it's things that we have to do. You want to touch base on this one?
Well, there is so much that I could talk about on these different hikes. I've been out at Money Point Gulch. If you've ever been out there, you would understand how amazing it is during a rainstorm with the wind and it's just an amazing experience. And then going out again another time when it's just a lovely sunny day. And this is one thing for hikes that you've done before, there still can be so many different experiences you can have on that same hike. Meat Cove Mountain, I sometimes would pick just a few blueberries to go with my pancakes in the morning, you know. Now, having said that, you can't pick any berries or anything like that if it would be within the park. But Meat Cove Mountain, of course, is in the Highlands, but outside the park. You can only pick a few, though. You don't want to hold everybody up. Skyline, if you're going to see a moose, chances are it'll be on Skyline. We've seen horses down at Money Point Light and Lowland Cove, and they were tame horses. We had a lovely incident of one of the horses. A lady went up to pet the horse, Sharon Proctor, and the horse stole her sandwich right out of her hand. She grabbed it back, of course, but the horse had all the meat. She just had the bread left. It was, and someone snapped a picture. I wish I could find it. It was fabulous. The sunsets, the sunrise, you know, we've had different hikes to watch those. They've been amazing, and they've not always been the same. So we had one incident where we thought we wouldn't see the sunset because of the clouds, but it made the most amazing display of colors. So like we say, you may have done the hike before, but you might have a totally different experience on it another time you do it. Warren Lake is beautiful. White Point has a wonderful history that very, very interesting. Yeah, there's just so much to see, do, and it's fabulous.
Right. Okay, so we mentioned this earlier, that when you begin to hike with Hike the Highlands, you become part of our hiking family. And over the years, many have developed lasting friendships with hikers and still communicate regularly with each other. I can give you an example where a fellow in Montreal that I got to know in probably about 10 years ago in the festival. He was a photographer, so I like taking photos too. So I always like to chat with him and say, you know, what setting are you using and this and that. And so we still communicate. Usually every 2 weeks, we'll send an email off to each other and just ask how you're doing and stuff like that. And he's gone over to Ireland for a few trips, so he shares photos with me. So I get to know a little bit about places that I could visit and take photos in Ireland and stuff. So, and even today, you go on Facebook and you see certain people, and all the Hike to Highland hikers are saying like, and then some making comments on Facebook. So you know that they're out there communicating, and that's something really special about our festival. So Leslie talked about this earlier. It's not uncommon to go out on a new hike and see different expressions of people when they say, wow, that's an amazing view. And then return again on the same hike and say, wow, I didn't see that the last time. So you always seem to get a different experience when you go out on a hike. And whether it's a new hike or it's a returning hike, or if it's a hike that you've been on many years, you'll always get that new experience. And so this picture to the right is certainly one of those occasions where I hiked Franny quite a bit. And so we had a hike up Franny that day. And when we were coming down to the parking lot, I said, gee, I can hear fiddle music. I must be dreaming. Must be, maybe somebody's got the stereo on in their car or something, or a CD or whatever. And so I got to the parking lot, and there was this lady she was actually from Scotland. She was doing an internship with Eagle North, now called Cape Breton Adventures. And she was playing the fiddle at the end in the parking lot. And I said, boy, wouldn't that be a nice little, that'd be nice to have that in every hike, at the end that people's playing fiddle. But it was, and it's funny, it's the only time that ever happened, but at least I got a photo of that.
That's right.
Yeah, but it was just nice. I wasn't expecting it.
Well, it was kind of magical coming down off of a hike and hearing this fiddle music in the background,
Oh, definitely. So again, this is another one of those experiences, and you don't always have the same experience when you're on Skyline. And if there was any recommendation, do Skyline for the sunset. So you always get different sunsets, of course, when you're on Skyline. And we happened to be out one night on a hike with the hikers, and a full moon came up. And I was taking pictures of the sunrise or sunset, sorry. And Lisa hollered behind me, said, Tom, turn around. Here was a big full moon coming up from the mountain behind me. I said, wow. So later on, we were leaving to go back to our cars. And Lisa said, there's a couple of moose up ahead, so be careful. So we actually saw 3 moose on the way out. And people were taking their cameras and using their flash and thinking, oh, that's not a good thing. So we drove to a Mountain View restaurant, and I remember getting a cup of tea and talking to the waitress, Debbie Timmons. And I said, Debbie, we saw 3 moose tonight, but they didn't seem too happy. And I said, the flashes probably didn't help matters. And she said, Tom, did you know the first full moon in September is the start of running season for moose? Oh, that's why they were a little different tonight. And so I always remember that story. And if you saw the picture earlier, you saw the moose had its hair a little up on the back. That usually means trouble. So if he's points his ears down and the hair is up, he could be going out. He could be ready to chase after you. So always watch that. So in the end, I'd just like to thank all the hikers, the photographers, Lisa Dixon, Leslie Buchanan, myself, and others who helped and played a role in developing this presentation. And thanks to Ernie Kemball for recommending this idea, because it was a good experience putting this together. You want to have any comments, Leslie?
Well, Tom, you have so many photos, and it must have been really hard for you to choose which ones to put in this presentation.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to know how many external hard drives I have. Yeah, and a lot of them are on Hike to Highlands, but there's a lot of photos that I have too, of course, but a big chunk is Hike to Highlands. So thank you for joining us today, and hope you enjoyed the presentation, and just want to say thank you, and Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.